Let's now explore the concept of variables in Dart. To start, let's clear the code editor to work with a clean slate. Variables in Dart are containers used to store data. They come in various types such as integers, strings, booleans, and more. Let's throw light on some of the types in Dart. Dart offers integers for representing whole numbers. It supports both positive and negative values. For instance, int age is equal to 30 and temperature is equal to -10. In both examples, we have int representing the data type, age and temperature representing the variable name, assignment operator, 30 and -10 representing the value, and of course followed by the terminator. We also have doubles. Doubles in that represent floating point numbers. They can hold fractional values. For instance, we can have double temperature and assign it a value of 98.6. Also, we have strings. That strings are sequences of characters enclosed in single or double quotes. For instance, we can have a string with a variable name as my name and assign it the value Kobicypher. We also have booleans. Booleans represent true or false values. And so it is either it is true or it is false. And so for instance, we can have bool is raining, assign it to the value true. Bool is present, assign it to the value false. It cannot be both. And then there are symbols. Symbols represent identifiers often used for defining constant values. We have these being examples of how to create symbol in Dart. These are the basic data types in Dart. In my definition of variables, we said variables comes in various types, the basic type as we have discussed and more. Now let's focus on the more. There is Dart type inference, which automatically determines the variable's type based on the assigned value. If you wish to create a variable where the data type will be inferred, then you have to use var. For instance, var number is equal to 10. In this example, that infers that number is an integer. In giving another example, we can say var price is equal to 10.99. Over here, that infers price as a double. Now let's understand constants and final variables. Constants are immutable values known as compile time. They are implicitly final. We can give example of constants like these. We also have final variables. Final variables are immutable and their values can only be assigned once. The values of both constant and final variables cannot be changed once they have been assigned. Let's talk about scoping and visibility of variables. We have local variables. Local variables are declared within a specific block of code or function and are accessible only within that block of code. Below is an example. And then we have global variables. Global variables are declared outside of any function or block of code and they are accessible throughout the program. This is also an example of how to work with global variables. Dart has dynamic typing. Dynamic typing in Dart allows variables to hold values of any data type. For instance, we have defined a variable with the name dynamic var, which has a data type of dynamic and has been assigned the value hello. Now this dynamic var can be reassigned to a different data type. In this case, we assign it to integer, and that will not have any issue with it. Let's also talk about null safety and how to handle nullable types. Null safety in that ensures that variables cannot hold null values unless they have been explicitly declared using the null aware operator. In this example, we have a nullable string variable, and this nullable string variable can be reassigned to a null value, and this will be a valid assignment in Dart. Dart provides various approaches to handle nullable types efficiently. Some of these approaches involve using null-aware operators, and by that I mean these operators. And null checks, by that I mean checking if the variable is not equal to null. As far as variable naming is concerned in Dart, there are some rules you need to follow when naming a variable. Some of these rules are: variable names can contain letters, and by letters I mean both capital and small letters. It can also contain underscore, and it can also contain digits. However, as far as digits are concerned, variable names cannot start with a digit. In naming variables, always avoid using reserved keywords. That has reserved keywords that cannot be used as variable names. You are also encouraged to use the camel casing convention for readability's sake. What I mean by this is that start with a lowercase letter, then capitalize the first letter of the subsequent words. Also, avoid using special characters, as that does not allow using special characters except for the underscore. In addition to this, avoid using symbols like the dollar, exclamation, hashtag, etc. in your variable names. Avoid using single letter variable names unless in a specific context. Single letter variables like x, y, I, j, these might be acceptable in specific contexts, for example like in loops or in mathematical equations, but prefer more descriptive names for better code readability. Variable names are case sensitive. What it means is that these two variable names are two different things. Also, be consistent in using the same case throughout the code base. You are also encouraged to choose descriptive names that convey the variable's purpose. Using descriptive names helps enhance code readability. For example, these two variable names reflect the purpose for which they were created. These rules are designed to ensure clarity, consistency, and readability in your Dart code base. Adhering to these naming conventions will help in writing clean, understandable, and maintainable Dart programs. By comprehensively grasping these variable types and their usage, you will be equipped to employ that flexibility and efficiency in crafting robust and scalable applications. See you in our next lesson.